Hello and welcome. We are here for APAC, which is the first cab off the rank in week 6 for the ZRL, WTRL racing. We are here for season 2, 21-22. I'm Kate Bates, joined by the one and only whiteboard queen, Anna Russell. Anna, the first 5 weeks have been pretty exciting. And if I can say, week 5 delivered a whole heap of results so different to what we've been seeing in the first couple of weeks that it's really opened up. There's a lot for everybody tonight.
Yeah, there's a lot for everyone. I'm saying there's a lot for me. I cannot wait for tonight's race, I've got to say. I am so stoked for this one. Not so stoked to race it tomorrow, although maybe. We'll see how it goes. But I'm already seeing a lot of chat about buckets. People aren't feeling good about this final climb. They actually used this course. I'll pull up the course map, but they used this course as part of the Zwift Academy sort of trials. And it was a baseline and a finish line ride. Reason being, you start with that sprint, which was used as a sort of max threshold effort, I think you'd call it, or VO2. Then you entered Titans Grove, which is about a 1.5 to 2 minute effort. And then you finish, as you can see, it'll come through, huge climb, epic reverse. I mean, it's about 10 to 14% the whole way. We're looking at tonight for the A men, probably about 15 minutes, and for the C women, maybe about 20 or just a bit more. So that is a long threshold effort. I will pull up, if I have it here, just the Zwift Insider graph, which I am really loving at the moment. Just sort of shows where we're looking at the points. So it looks as though a lot of it, the green is the KOMs, a lot of points coming from the KOMs, and then also obviously that finish line.
Yeah, it is an interesting one. It's such an epic course, actually. I mean, finishing on the reverse epic, but it's a fair change from what we saw in London a few weeks ago when it was very much the points race in terms of how many intermediate sprints there were. I know you weren't a giant fan of that either, Anna. So I like to think this might be something a little bit more down your alley if you're racing tomorrow. So we will be covering the men's A and the women's C.
Mm-hmm. C women out on course. Yep.
Yeah. So let's take a look at them when we can, Anna. And the fact that they use this for Zwift Academy, that is a race of truth. Like, you know, they cannot decide a winner for Zwift Academy easily, and they do need to know absolutely on the most challenging courses. So to be using this one to really choose between the athletes they have, I think is fairly indicative of the kind of course it is. It is called the Climber's Gambit. Mm-hmm. That gives away equally as much as that course profile did, Anna, but fair to say for riders like myself, which is to say the sprinters amongst the group, this kind of course just leaves absolute shudders and goosebumps. So I don't think everybody will be pumped about being out there tonight.
Not everyone, although there is a bit of something for everyone, I think. I mean, already, I just want to show, already people are dropping off this first little 4%er out of Watopia downtown. So already people are dropping feathers. This is starting hard. Not pleasant, but there is a little something for everyone. I do want to note what is quite important and quite telling on this course is the bike choice. So it does start with a sprint, and it is a really, really short, hard effort sprint. So you might see some sort of faster setups. Like the Tron isn't necessarily the best choice for tonight's race, but these guys may be going for the Titans Grove points or that sprint segment point. So yeah, there is a bit for everyone, but once you hit that climb, I mean, you'd call it the climb of truth. There's basically no drafting. It's just you getting into your little pain area. Someone's dropping an anvil, which is not a great time. They're going to drop like a stone on that little 2%er. Yeah, I mean, do we want to talk power-ups?
I think we do need to talk power-ups. We've got 3 available tonight. The anvil, which you just pointed out, which goes 30 seconds. We've got the burrito for 15 seconds and the feather for 15 seconds. You did comment on how the anvil was going to bite, but right now it might be allowing a little bit of recovery. In general, I'm just not a big fan of the anvil, Anna. Like that, I just don't think it is a hugely diverse power-up. And I feel like there's not many people losing races because they're not keeping up on the descent. Or am I wrong? I mean, maybe correct me there, but, you know, I guess I'm heavier too, so it doesn't make much difference for me. But Do you think there'd be a lot of people going like, oh, yes, I'm going to save the anvil?
No, I think the anvil, I think the biggest problem is too long. So it's 30 seconds, which is a really, really long time. Not many descents, unless you're descending off huge climbs, but descent isn't counting in tonight's race. So unless you're descending off some massive climbs, it's just not super useful. I think the only time potentially you can use it in the race tonight is off the descent after Titans, but it's risky. If you're in a big group and you descend really fast, it could sort of still be going on when you hit the next uphill. So it's a risky one. These guys are just sort of coming around what's called the S's. They've dropped off a whole bunch of riders on this section of the course. They will come over this climb here, and it goes into a big, long sort of windy descent, takes a left, and then we go into the first segment points, which is called the JWB Bridge points. A few feathers being dropped, so we might see some early attacks here as these riders go over the crest. They're looking pretty good. We've got TBR, Smile On, Party Bus. I do have some notes about these guys, but this is an early open up from Kim here.
And I think the sprinters have two. Kim Kern-Stokes, she did pretty well last week, which has been fantastic because she's been on the back burner for a little while looking after herself, but she's back and she's doing really well. So great to see her hit out early. She has been bettered at the moment. It looks like Ev is powering away. Ev, you can sit up now. You can stop sprinting.
That was close. That was really close.
It was for second and third, but Ev was fairly comfortable up the front. I think what they need to consider here are if they're sprinters and they're just looking to get some points on the board and then survive up the climb, that's a tactic. This is actually a course, I would say, Anna, that lends itself to a whole, a broader range of strategies than some of the sprinter ones that we've seen earlier in the season. But the sprinters can either go for these early points and then just hang on and see how they go, or they can actually use that opportunity to attack when the sprinters just have no need to do that. And by doing that, it could give them a little bit of a head start on the climb, allowing them to then climb at their own pace, which could, in theory, be really quite helpful when it comes to that longer climb at the end, because a lot of the time when you're getting dropped off climbs, it's the way they're climbing rather than the actual climb in itself. We're over here with A's, with the fellas. We've got Tim Cutler.
Big attack from Tim. Yeah, he went off early, so he was actually in the lead for quite a while, kind of pulling forward quite a bit, but was caught up very quick. Seeing some early attacks here from Burles, who we've come to know relatively well from the Evo team. I've got to say, it never really works out attacking over that crest of the hill. We are seeing an anvil being dropped there from Burles on the front. This is a risky time to drop it. He could get left behind on the sprint, but he's actually looking all right there. He's kind of sitting in the pack, maybe doing a bit of recovery off that huge effort. Hickford here from Aero taking a little turn at the front, but it's Hamamoto from ZWC. These guys know how to sprint. He is opening up big time. Look at those orange numbers, and it's our friend Mashed Potato, I think, is going to end up taking it away. Huge effort there. Looks like Hickford coming at Harris and Richard Law from Alien Inc. That was quite the sprint. We'll see if we can get a replay on that, but Mashed Potato, he's their sprinting man. That's probably his job for the day done.
It is good to see Mashed Potato back again. And Richard Law again up there consistently. A lot of the names that we actually saw thrive last week, even though it was more climbing than the earlier weeks had been. But we did still see, they were shorter climbs, weren't they, Anna? Like 2-3 minutes. We still saw a lot of the really powerful sprinter and anaerobic athletes be still quite dominant there. Today, completely different story. Just quietly, I reckon if Mashed Potato went off the front on his own, he'd go pretty well at that climb, but he will struggle on that climb when he has the pure climbers who are quite dynamic in their climbs. And by quite dynamic, I mean they have little accelerations that just really wear out the legs. Most sprinters that I know, when they're climbing, when they're good climbers, or, they climb probably above expectation. Usually, Anna, it's when it's quite a steady pace from the bunch. and they're able to just go into a bit of diesel mode and muscle through it. But when it does get to this stop-start attacking, more dynamic style of climbing, that's absolutely something that is favoured by the more pure climbers. So, for both the men and the women, fortune favours the brave. I would love to see some people go out early, get onto that big climb with a gap, and see what may happen.
Yeah, exactly. I think we are actually approaching this really tricky part of the course. So women are actually just on there and the men are just approaching it. I'll see if we can get some of those segment results in when we can. But this is a really hard part of the course, the Watopia. So it's an interesting one because the way the course is done, it's the Watopia reverse KOM. But they don't actually do the KOM. They just do the really, really hard steep part, which is really painful for them. And then they drop down into a big downhill. Now, it's big danger time in this one because if you get dropped just even by a second, and I saw it this morning in the Premier League women's race, Ella Harris got dropped just by 1 to 2 seconds, and then they hit a very steep, super tuckable downhill. If you're not there, you're gone because the pack moves really fast. So you can see the riders now, even though it's not for points, they are being cagey because it's such a tactically important part of the race. They're spreading out across the road. The pace is a little bit off, but we might see some orange numbers here. Burrito's being dropped, which is an interesting time to drop a burrito. Like we said, we've got the anvil, burrito, and feather. Everyone will be after that feather.
Everyone will be after the feather for that final climb. I've actually gone up the Epic KOM a lot because it allowed me to kind of find my groove in the app, and I do quite, as more of a sprinter, I do quite like climbing those kinds of climbs that you can get into a bit of a steady rhythm. Even though some of the sections are quite steep, you can actually maintain quite a consistent power. Absolutely no question that feather is going to be of big use where they are right now, where they're going up to 10%. Anna, like, this is a pretty leg burning for the first 5 kilometers of the race.
John Story
27.7 in total. But
what is
this
he
is
doing?
Your Kiwi. Well, maybe he's heard the call out, Anna.
It's a really
to go on the early mark. And
bizarre tactic, though. Very bizarre tactic.
I don't know. I'm going to go against you there because from what we've seen of John's story so far and what we saw of NZ Bro Frodo in the team's time trial, John's story is exceptional. But, and this is not a criticism, if anything, this is a compliment, he has quite a narrow range of power where he is super comfortable. If he's able to go on his own and just sit at his comfortable power, I have no doubt that he could actually maintain quite a significant lead and keep it up the climb. So I think that this is a really smart tactic for him. The NZ Bro Frodos, they have to have another plan and plan B. But the fact that Tim Cutler is on the front chasing him down, that there are a few arrows up the front, it says to me that they're not just letting this one go, Anna. They're also considering that this could be quite serious if they let John's story go too far. He's such a credentialed athlete. And I think you never write off somebody who's as capable as he is on a world level in any sport.
It might be one of those times we do disagree. And I hate it because it is a Kiwi and I really want to agree with their tactics here. But it's not for anything. I mean, you can get a little gap on that climb, but the group mostly stuck together, a few sort of detached on that little climb. And then they descended so quickly that they were able to just get straight back on. 7 seconds now, and he is burning. He is burning through the fuel, through his Tron bike there. There's no way he's going to make it to the top of Titans Grove KOM. In the front still. It's just, and I feel bad saying this. His mum usually watches this, and I know his mum, lovely lady, and she will hate me saying this, but
Hi, Mum.
Yeah, hi, Mrs. Story, but it's just not the tactic I think will work here. I'm struggling to see because no one's going to chase. I mean, the whole pace is off this back group. Even Team Aero, you have a bit of Aussie Kiwi rivalry. They're just kind of letting him go because they're like, who cares? Just let him hang out there. We've got ages till Epic climb, and then that's a huge effort. So Yeah, they're just letting him hang. Unfortunately, it's not a kind of Quintana-esque explosive take it out for the win. You'd hope he'd save some energy and do that on APAC. So just can't lost the. I can see Katie is saying some really important things, but lost the audio there. I bet she probably lost the audio because she's disagreeing with me, and I'm not allowing her to come through and disagree with what I think of these tactics. But yeah, this is come through in the chat. Tell me what you think about John Story's move here. I just yeah, not entirely sure. We might just stick with him for a little bit more. Then we will see the women from the C category come through and hit their Titans Grove QOM. Looks like we've got a bit of a lag on the old results. Sometimes this happens when we have the Zwift updates happening, which we just saw. They released a couple of new courses on Makuri Islands. So bear with me if we try and get these segments coming in. I'm refreshing like crazy on them to have them come in. But yeah. There we go. Men got a little attack off the front. He's actually gathered a little bit of time though, Kate. I think I can hear you coming back in.
I'm going back, Anna.
Yeah, 16 seconds.
Yes. Well, it's, it maybe technology was like looking after you a bit there, because I was quite vehemently disagreeing with you again. That, Anna, quite unusual for us. We normally see things through similar lens, which I think this is even more interesting. That we're both seeing this from a slightly different view. But I just think that if John's story, it's not just about what John's story does. Yes, he is burning through, but it's also about what the bunch does. I know that there is a whole cohort of riders who end up suffering quite a lot. Now, bear with me here. They end up suffering quite a lot when the pace eases off. It might be really instinctive to think that they're doing it easy and they'll have a lot of matches left in the box when they do choose to then attack. But there will actually be a lot of riders who, when they go to put the gas down, they just won't have the legs, because this kind of course wears at you even if you are going quite conservatively. If this break just keeps growing and growing and growing, what we'll see is individuals jump across rather than a whole bunch effort.
Mm-hmm.
And that could really play into the hands of NZ Bro Frodo, who just have to sit on and negate any of those efforts that are going across. We also have to look at the NZ Bro team, I think, Anna, and how many of them could actually really, negatively influence any chase group that might be going across. So I think it's a critical couple of kilometres here. He is on the climb. Let's see how he climbs to get up here through Titans Grove. But if he can get over this KOM and the gap is really not coming down at all, then I have to say, I'd put a little bit of faith in him, because I think if he can maintain a consistent effort for 15 minutes, that he will be able to put out a whole lot of power in that kind of scenario when he's able to self-regulate.
I could be eating my words, because he has gathered 22 seconds now. The pace has come off huge from the group behind. They're just chilling out. I think they're just kind of happy for him to take max points here. He probably won't get fastest time segment, but he will get first across line, as we remember from that Zwift Insider graph. That is where we're going to get the points, is mostly the sort of fastest time segment on the climbing section. So again, it is an interesting tactic. I like it it's kind of a hero move, right? And I always like my hero moves occasionally. What is it that Primoz Roglic says? No guts, no glory, something like that.
No guts, no glory. I love that. I do, and I am a big believer in that. And I think that Zwift is a really cool way to test tactics on courses that are repeatable, which is different to the outside world and all the elements. You generally know what kind of courses suit you, but you very rarely get to race on them. It's a once a year thing at max. And if you're talking about things like Grand Tours, you may never race the same kind of stages in your career. So it is a slightly different way to develop when you're looking at the esports world. It's come down to 19 seconds, but that's not significant in my mind. I also think they get over the top of this climb, the bunch will back off a bit. And if Story is able to just hold on consistently and keep going, that'll play into his favour. Interesting, Anna, look at what Aero are doing. Aero, they've got their feelers up. They know that they need to keep this within a distance. And perhaps for them, it's like 15 seconds. Guys, if we can keep this within 15 seconds, it's absolutely no problem. Tim Cutler's a sensational climber. But you know, the fact that so many of them are up the front a little bit, you know, monitoring what's going on, to me says that this isn't going unnoticed.
Yeah, exactly. And I mean, look, they've pulled in, they were at 22 seconds and now it's 16 seconds behind John Story. So he is still off the front. They're just coming on this little downhill. They're going to round this right-hander and then you'll start to see that Titans Grove KOM approaching in the distance, kind of near where those rock formations are. The women's race is actually just slightly behind them. So we will follow this men's race over the top of the KOM. We'll pull in the picture-in-picture of the women's race and then watch them come over the KOM as well. There are some riders seriously struggling on the rollers here, and I do want to call out that is probably because they're on a climbing specific setup. This is where bike choice is so important. Tron, it's not the fastest up the epic climb reverse, but it is really, really good on this rolling terrain. Now, some of the people getting gapped a bit off the back, it's probably because they're on a climbing bike, maybe a specialized Atheos, something like that, and it's really hard to stay with the pack on those little descents. So they might hurt a little bit on this rolling terrain, but come the climb, that's going to pay off dividends. Look who is chasing him down. Cutler here from Aero. We've got Burles too sitting there from Evo, and then some of the ZWC LA's riders, they are coming so close. If John doesn't take this out, this is really, in my mind, a little bit depressing for the amount of work he put in. And unfortunately, orange numbers, and he's riding at 6.8. He's riding at that good threshold pace, but man, I think Cutler here is going to come through and pass him. This is pretty devastating.
You know, it's devastating, but I also think that that was the best chance he was going to have to get onto that epic KOM with a bit of a lead and to do what he was here to do. I don't think Story was just going for this particular sprint, to be honest, based on where he went and how early he went. Tim Cutler, we knew that he would be a good climber over the top of this. But can I just point out mashed potato?
Wow.
Yeah. He's just gone over the top, winning that. Now that is a shorter climb than the epic KOM, but that's sensational from a sprinter.
Yeah, we've just cut off really quickly to the women's race. They are literally on the same part of the course, and we've got N. here pulling away from the crew. Do you remember her last week? She was winning every single segment, and it looks like she's coming to today's race with the exact same strategy. We've got Van Rossum as well, who I remember mentioning a bit last week from the herd of Wheelies. She's coming up pretty close, 5.7 watts a kg. She might take it over this Caramello's ride. They've still got a bit of climbing to go. Rossum has done a great job here of she'll get on the wheel. I wonder if she'll sit in and draft just a little bit, or she'll just roll over. Rolling over.
Well, I heard that Corinne last week, Anna, got disqualified in the end.
Oh, no.
After her big race win. So I think there might be a bit of nerves amongst the lot about that happening last week. I don't really understand. Just it was one of those Zwift technicalities that wasn't quite right. There was certainly no suggestion that she'd done something untoward, but I know she was pretty devastated from that. So that might change the way that they race this week.
So that was Van Rossum taking that out. Hence Semenko, who actually commented on one of my Zwift activities. So she's lovely. She's out there in the Zwift community. And we've got the Caramello rider behind her, N. doing very well there. She was, I just remember, a star from last time. So she's carrying it through. Now, will anyone drop a anvil on this part of the course? I'm not sure. It's really split the field, though. You can kind of see there are the anvils. Now, this, I really want to watch in closely. And for those who are racing in the coming days, does the anvil run out before you get to the next climb? That's what you want to be watching. So let's keep eyes on this rider, see if that anvil is going to come down.
Yeah, this would be the only place, or the really
yeah.
good place to drop the angle, right? Because after this, there's
Oh,
not a lot of opportunities.
there's nothing. So she dropped that perfectly. Actually, you can drop it there. So for those racing in coming days, that was perfect. That did last, and they're still on the downhill. That lasted a great long time. This women's C race, though, is absolutely getting demolished. Look at that. Riders everywhere behind them. This is, I wonder if this pack will take it. There are some burnt legs already. I've got to say, the guys have all come together in a relatively small bunch. So we'll take a look at how they're going, as they are now 15.1 kilometers, very quickly approaching this climb. It's interesting to note as well that this course has 600 meters of elevation, 400 of which are that last climb. So this is, yeah, you've got to save your legs for that last part. Another thing I noticed in the Prem racing was don't get out too early on that climb. Don't start thinking you're a hero. Sprinting up that first steep part seemed like most people were caught if they followed that strategy, because you've just got to remember how long it is.
And I think that a smaller bunch going into the climb is going to be much more navigatable for the women and the men. The women, it always looks as though that selection is a little bit smaller than we often see with the men. There's a bit of a bigger bunch size in APAC for those men. But this is a really reduced field already, isn't it, Anna? I think what's surprising is that the people that we would probably point to earlier in the season as being our sprinters, your mashed potatoes, your Richard Law, they're still there. I mean, I don't know that they will be entirely comfortable on that long climb, that long epic climb, but to be here and have accrued so many points on those first two, they've done a pretty good job.
Yeah, they're just heading through this very smoky part of the terrain. Yeah, I think you'd be looking at Mashed Potato, feeling pretty happy with his performance so far. I do want to call out that there is a new NZ Bro rider out there. I got a message about them. Not sure if I can see him actually in this main group, which is a bit disappointing. But his name is Josh Haggerty. So he's actually a 2x silver medal junior world's track athlete for Team Pursuit and Scratch. Bit of a young rider, ex-Conti Pro, raced in Belgium and France. Done the Tour of Southland 8 times. Actually, no, he must not be too junior. And has had 3 national team pursuit champs. So quite capable on this course. But I don't see a Haggerty in this main pack from NZ Bro. So unfortunate there. Maybe, I think new to Zwift racing is what I'm seeing. And I mean, if you don't know Zwift racing, oh, it's hard. You can just see there from Richard Law, death is approaching. Yes. We've got another NZ Bro right off the front. Kay here. So this is obviously a strategy of theirs to just keep drilling it off the front and keep kind of pushing the pace of the pack. I think they're trying to protect Aaron Bleakley, who just said the bucket's ready, because he is their big 20-minute climber.
See, this is really good tactics from NZ Bro. I think that they've, from the very start, perhaps you're right, whiteboardness is rubbing off on the manor because this is definitely really well thought out. And this is something that even in lieu of your whiteboarding skills, I would say I feel like they've whiteboarded this situation. This is the way to definitely combat some of the strengths of the other teams. And what we noticed in the first 4 weeks was the other teams that were kind of taking the spoils, and NZ Bro were there or thereabouts, but never quite performing what we expected. But then you take that into the team's time trial week, Anna, and all of a sudden they showed exactly how strong they were by taking the win. So if you keep that in mind, we know that they are individually exceptionally strong riders. And I think that it's given them a little bit more confidence as well. It's also given them the ability to say, okay, it's not our physicality that may have been letting us down in getting the race results. Maybe we need to rethink the strategy. And I think they're doing a tremendous job.
Oh, I am just loving how you're waxing lyrical about this New Zealand Bro team, Katie. It's great. You know, you could think there was a bit of Anzac battle between us, but I'm liking it. I'm the one who's being a little bit critical and you're really in their corner. So Yeah, great. Kudos to you, Katie. That's awesome. We have seen now that that rider has been pulled in. They're 18.4 kilometers in. They're going to be taking the turn into the tunnels here. I mean, they've got to be getting nervous. We are just seeing Muzz here putting in a dig on the front, 5 watts per kg. Everyone is not making this easy. This is horrible. When I recon this as a race for the Frenchy Fusion crew over the weekend, this part was so easy. We were down to like 2.5 watts per kg. And this crew here is making this probably an extremely hard race. I do want to call up here B Pitt. We'll call him Brad Pitt. He is on a very interesting bike setup. He is on a disc and a Specialized VNG Works. That is not a climbing bike. He will be so slow on the climb. So his job probably was the sprint, was Titans, and to just keep a really, really high pace going in this pack, although he is dropping off to the back a little bit. Maybe his job's done. It's just to push the pace a little bit in that section there, because it has separated the crew just a bit. Do want to note that the women's race, they are just coming out of Titans Grove. We will have a lot of time on this climb. We'll be cutting back to them. They didn't actually separate that much. Most of them all stayed together. So we will follow them when they hit the climb as well. Don't worry, guys. We have a long time ahead of us on this climb. We've got a lot of action still to come.
Yeah, we do. Well, a lot of the action may happen down the bottom here, actually. Well done to Ben/Brad Pitt. I do also like that the teams are really giving riders specific roles, and they are taking that so far that they actually, use different bike choices to do it. So I really like that. We've got Howie here now being the aggressor, under 17, Anna. So he's what in Australia we would call a little tacker. He's doing extremely well. But can we point out that the fact that he's an under 17 means his power to weight will probably be quite good as well. So Howie might be a little bit more comfortable out there and have some pretty big numbers versus some of the bigger riders.
Yeah, this is looking quite good. Aero is now playing NZ Bro at their own game. Look at the distance these guys are getting. This is Cutler, Howie, K-Dot from NZ Bro, Stevenson from Alien Inc. He's just kind of in no man's land, just in between. He's desperately trying to get up there. Can see Muzz from Aero. He was pushing orange numbers. This is a bit of a danger move, and I think people are realizing this from that back group. They're getting they're sort of down to like 8 seconds, 9 seconds now. People are detaching off the back. I've just seen a red dot come to a complete standstill on that mini map, so I'm not sure if someone had a dropout or they literally just dropped by the pace that these guys are setting. Just watching this makes me feel uncomfortable. This does not look like a pleasant race.
Yeah, this a pretty tough way to approach the climb, to be honest. Tim Cutler's been fantastic all day. I have to also think that he's been given the role of you cover everything. Like, do not let anything move without you on it, because that is exactly what he's done thus far. So big fan of Tim Cutler, actually. I think he always plays a really good and very important team role. This is a really hard section. Even when you aren't looking ahead to the climb and even thinking that far in the race, this is one of those courses, Anna. It's actually one of my most favourite to ride solo and one of my least favourite to ride in a bunch, because when I'm going my own pace, I meander through Titans Grove and I feel okay by the time I hit the bottom of the KOM. But when you're going through in a group, you often think you're doing okay, but Titans Grove, it wears at you. They're just about to hit the bottom of where it really starts kicking up in earnest. I think we are just going to see ones and twos everywhere at the moment. Tim Cutler's doing a bit of a Mark O'Brien, a bit of a trademark move from him. So Tim Cutler is following in those footsteps there. But this folding where I think we are truly just going to have one rider at a time, will be flicking furiously through the bunch to find out our solo whole way up. Honestly, I think the women's is going to look the same.
Yeah, they are. Oh gosh, dropping a feather now. That is brave. He has got a long way to go. This must be a strategy of going right from the base all the way to the top, or it's a strategy to pull out attacks, as we can see there from Ross, coming from Z-Sun. Not sure about this from Aero. If it pays off, it's awesome. But man, you almost just want to keep that feather in the back pocket the whole way up, just to make sure that you can get to the top with this front group, because it's going to explode. I mean, this part of the course is rounding this corner at about 5%, and then it kicks up again. They have a bit of reprieve over the bridge that's coming up, but Cutler, I am surprised he dropped that feather so early. He was looking so strong. The problem as well is all the riders behind him know he's dropped it, and so he kind of doesn't have that card to play anymore. Do just want to note the women are approaching the climb, but they're not there yet. They're at about 20 kilometers, so we will cut over to them when they start this section of the climb too, because as we can see in the men's race, this is quite decisive. As we're seeing from Cutler, 4 seconds ahead of Ross from Z-Sun. Tabalong, who did very well from NZ Bro last week, is looking phenomenal. All kind of staying together a little bit in that bunch. A few have just dropped off on that first bit, but yeah, we've got a few big hitters here.
Yeah, that was an interesting power-up drop from Cutler. I mean, I think perhaps in one way, given how much he was on the front earlier in the day, Anna, and how it really looked like that was his job to really make sure he went with everything that was moving, that perhaps his job is to actually finish with a couple of kilometres left and just really set it up that the other teams are responsible for that chase and cranking up the pace, and to have a few of their chosen riders being able to just sit in and mind their P's and Q's and not have to do too much work. It's hard to know, though, on this kind of climb. It really is very dependent on how they race as to whether tactics like this will go too far, because they may well find the teammate that is still there, which is they've got a couple. They've got Hickford, Muzz, and Harris as well. Now, I think they might be on 2 different Aero teams, but I think the Aero have worked pretty closely and pretty well together thus far. So it wouldn't surprise me if they weren't all considering how this was being raced.
Exactly.
There's a few of them sitting there to take advantage of what's happening here with Cutler, but I think he will come back. Oh, and look at the women, Anna. So they're just heading on to that, what kicks up to that steep bit. Pretty big bunch.
Slightly, yeah. I was surprised, actually. They all came over on Titans Grove. It broke up quite a lot, as we saw. We saw Semenko. We saw in there from the Caramello's team. But they all came together on some of the downhills. A few had a good drop of that anvil. So, yeah, I do want to note, someone is commenting in the socials that they had nothing left for Epic Climb after they raced up the Titans, and there weren't even points in that race for Titans. I would agree. When I raced this course, by the time I got to Epic, it was like my legs were just toast. It was so hard. So, I say things like, come on, just catch up to that rider. Come on, drop your feather later and catch. By the time I got halfway up this climb, I just wondered at what I was doing on a Saturday morning in a humidity of about 100%, going so hard. I really started to question my life choices.
I like that it becomes such a philosophical moment in your life when you're on the bike.
Oh, yeah.
But I agree, because I think that in both a positive and perhaps a negative way, you often are riding your bike and thinking, this is just the best thing I've ever done. I'm like, I love this. And there's certainly other moments where you think, I'm an intelligent person. Why did I think that this was a good idea?
I know.
A little bit of reflection, self-reflection that goes on. I do think that there will be some sprinters out there tonight who are having that conversation with themselves, and they'll probably oscillate between thinking they're super tough and good on me, geez, I'm great and am I here? So just encourage people to maybe zone out of their own head for a moment if they're able to on this kind of course. And you know what this climb really makes me think, and I've mentioned a few times, Anna, that I really love this climb. One of the reasons I love it is because, one, you can get into a rhythm, love that, but two, it is pretty tough, and it does give you an experience where you have to force yourself to stop looking at all of the details and just be in the moment and just work as hard as your body is allowing you to work without any kind of judgment or tactic or anything around that. It is that kind of climb that it really doesn't matter what people do. You have to climb at your own pace. And we will definitely see a few riders who go out from the bottom, try and hold the wheels, start a little bit better than perhaps and over their average powers, and then it gets a little bit messy toward the top.
I just want to go back to a comment you said there, Katie, that you really like this climb.
Now, I do. I really like it. I like both sides.
Wow, that's good to know.
I'm a rubbish climber too.
I was going to say, I thought you wouldn't like the climbs, but that's I like hearing that. This is a good one. We'll have to. I still want to see you race this. You should just go do a ring in for a team tomorrow. I mean, there'd be so many teams hearing you say that you like this climb would be like, get her on our team. We've got half the team don't want to race. Get her on.
Yeah, liking the climb and being, competitive and athletic up at are two different. But it's even with your comment about kind of the philosophical chats you have with yourself while you can be out there racing sometimes. I think it's really therapeutic in some ways when you are climbing up here, and it's the battle with yourself, and you're very aware of that. And that's quite a different experience to battling with somebody else, both of which I like, I might add. And Tim Cutler, Anna,
still way out the front, 18 seconds now.
But I think you wrote him off when it was, and I kind of did too. I said perhaps this was the plan. He was a couple of seconds, or the bunch was within a couple of seconds of him. We were talking about him just setting it up for the other aero riders, but back out to 18 seconds. That's a long way on this kind of climb. He's out of sight now.
Yeah, he is gone. The race, 27.9. So still got 2.9K to go. So, it's not game over. People might start to get worried and start to push the pace a little bit. What we won't have is what they had in Prem League, which was a very interesting part of the course. Just 2 corners were actually bonus segments. So that sort of threw a big spanner in the works because some teams just sprinted for that and then absolutely exploded before the line. We're not going to see that. We're just going to see people settling into a nice rhythm. Inland here from Raven Mad, just pushing off the front. I think Hens Semenko and Van Rossum are the ones who are really teeing up for this climb. You can just see them there kind of covering any moves, checking out what she's doing, but definitely not letting her get away. Look at that, right onto the wheel again. Do want to remind people that they will have a feather or a burrito or an anvil. I mean, an anvil is completely useless right now, but the feather obviously will be great. Burrito, right near the end, it does flatten off for about 150 meters. That could be a great place for a burrito where someone just can't get on your wheel. It would be kind of devastating.
Anna, were you on here when we were talking about throw burrito, or was that with Nathan?
No, but that sounds great.
No.
Oh wait, maybe it was.
It is a game.
Yeah.
It's an Australian family board game where you literally hurl a burrito at someone. And I just really think it could be a fun inclusion to the burrito power up if you actually got to hurl it at a particular rider, and they got a couple of second disadvantage or something like that. That could be interesting. Normally I would look at this situation and think, well, there's a chase group here. Chase groups and climbs like this, Anna, it's very negligible how well they can actually work together. So I'm not sure they'll gain a lot of traction. If anything, the next couple of 100 meters, is their chance to get a bit of recovery and perhaps gain a little bit of speed on Cutler. But I feel as though these 3 riders, Tabalong, who we've seen do some sensational things in the last couple of weeks, Tanaka, who we know is such a great climber, and Nakagawa as well. Sorry, a great sprinter, I think Tanaka is. He's a really good all-around rider, actually. And Nakagawa as well is a very good all-around rider. It's a very good combination of the 3. But I think that bit by bit we might see these gaps opening up between the 3 of these riders as well.
Yeah, and I do want to just chat here about the bikes again. I know, sorry, everyone. I am so intrigued by people's bike choices on this. This Scott, this is what I'm going to be running tomorrow. The Scott here with it looks like he's got perhaps the Envy. Oh, not the 7.8, something else there. If anyone watching can tell me particularly what those wheels are. But that Scott is a good climbing bike. Now, for this ZWC Allies rider, Naga Waswuk, this could be the difference for him to take this out. Just because those Trons, they're not amazing on the climb. That Scott is about, Cy Bradley's watching, so he might be able to tell me. I think it's about 4 to 5 seconds faster, which could be everything on this climb. Do want to call out Cutler here. We are watching the chase for second through to fourth. Cutler 28 seconds up the road. They've got about 1,500 meters to go. Wow, that's pretty phenomenal from Cutler. We can just see Harris here as well from NZ Masters. Bleakley, who was my sort of quiet pick, also on the Scott here. He was my quiet pick for this stage, but has just really fallen off. Can't keep up with that 6 kind of watt per kg effort. Yeah, not looking great. And then you've got a huge gap back down to Hickford there. So big gaps further down the road. But this front group is relatively close together. 2 ZWC riders too. Look at that.
I tell you what, given how well Bleakley's been going in some of the flatter stages and the more dynamic stages, I would actually circle him to be a massive standout today for what he's doing consistency-wise. I think if we looked across the board, he's probably been the most consistent rider this season. If you take this performance into account, he's done really well. We also have to remember that the A riders are scattered all the way up this mountain. It is not only this front end that we are looking at, but it goes all the way down. Tim Cutler has a 35-second lead, or 30-second lead at the moment. It went out to 35 seconds, but it's there or thereabouts. He's coming up to the arch. He's not too far away from it now.
Oh,
He's got this. He's comfortable. And look at that power, Anna. He's just sitting comfortably, powering away. He's not fading at all.
This is a bottom to top effort. I mean, when I saw him go at the start and drop the feather, I was like, I don't know, this doesn't seem like a good time to drop a feather. But he just used that gap and just built on it. On that bridge, that flat part is really hard to stay away from the pack. And he managed to do that. You can see he's just now coming up to the last part of this 9% grade. You can kind of see it from this angle, just how steep it is coming through. But then it's going to flatten off. 10% now, flattens off over the top. He's going to have a huge time to do a victory parade. He could do a little Tom Pidcock, jump on and do a Superman over the line on that yellow Tron.
Yeah, that was pretty impressive. Also, he then went on to talk about how he thought time trial bikes were quite dangerous to train on, and I thought that was an interesting juxtaposition of opinions there between that. But you're right, Tim Cutler is looking very comfortable here. Will win by at least 30 seconds at this point. It will be a good final kilometre for the 3 that are chasing. Nakagawa looks as though he is trying to force a bit of pace off the front and has opened up a couple of seconds ahead of Tanaka and Tabalong. So we'll see how that folds out. But Anna, you've got to give absolute kudos to Tim Cutler for this performance. Look at this. Nakagawa has pulled away very comfortably at the top there. Tanaka is following him in. So a very big ride from ZWC
That's
Allies.
Great from ZWC.
Second and third there.
Yeah, that's
and
fantastic.
Tabalong.
Wow. He's been a great rider. This has been a great time. He performed very well last week. And look at this now. 4th across the line. Looking pretty solid here coming through. Harris from Aero. This is... we had Cutler take it out from Aero. I guess you got Harris there and Hickford. There's a few NZ Bro in the mix and ZWC, so it'll be interesting to see after this race how that team league does sort of play out. Looking at Harris here coming in. I mean, look at Bleakley though. Still so far. This is very, very spread out now. Bleakley 6th place. 12 seconds behind Harris. 18 seconds ahead of Hickford. Wow, this just completely detonated up this climb, didn't it?
Oh, sensational riding across the board. Josh Harris, 4.8 watts per kg. He's been averaging today. So that's a pretty impressive performance from him. I'm a bit nervous about the lack of numbers in Zwift Power for Tim Cutler. That makes me a bit nervous after Corinne's disqualification last week, Anna. So I'm really hoping that isn't anything that becomes a problem. So we'll just have to wait and see on that one a little bit, I guess. Yikes! But great ride from Aero to set that up as they did.
Yeah, that looked great. We've got Ogino here from ZWC. They are looking really good. Notzi from NZ Bro Frodo coming through to round out the top 10. Then we will head over to the women's race. Do want to apologise for not having the segments. Looks as though just maybe with those updates, we weren't able to get those refreshes coming through into Zwift game. But looking here at the women's race, we'll pull that through. That was Notzi coming through the line. We're following Kim here from TBR Party Bus. She is leading it out with Van Rossum and Hen Semenko. Those were the two I mentioned, who I still think they've got her number. I still think that they could pass Kim here from TBR Party Bus. They could be a bit cagey, although Hen Semenko, gotta say, she is dropping off a little bit here.
I like KKS.
Okay.
I'm a big fan of hers. I really am. I think she's a really top chick. She's dropped into some of our kind of casual rides with chicks who ride bikes sometimes, and is always super helpful and is very much one for the community. She's a very strong rider, but she supports everybody really well, and it has been a bit of time since we've seen her really pushing up the front like this, and I'm quite proud to see that. Now, the funny thing about that, Anna, is I feel like I know her, but I would not recognise her if I walked into her. I have no idea what she looks like. I find that always a little bit funny in the Zwifting world, that you could be sitting at a restaurant next to somebody that you spend all talking about and not even realising it. But I'm being distracted. It is great to see her performing. You were spot on in picking Van Rossum and Hensa Semenko. Hensa Semenko each week has been getting better. I will also say that in the same way that Aaron Bleakley, we commented for the men, is very dynamic and capable across a broad range of courses, I think Hensa Semenko is also proving to be that rider. She's done really well on the flatter stages, even if it hasn't necessarily been in the sprint, with some really well-timed attacks. And showing herself to be very versatile, and is at the business end. We saw when the men rode through here, Anna, that this is a tiny little bit of calm before they do kick up at the finish, and gaps open up pretty quickly on that final and very steep bit. So I think that Van Rossum will likely hit over the top of KKS at some point, because KKS has been doing a bit of the pacemaking from what we've seen, but notwithstanding the fact that she may just be hanging on for dear life. So let's just see how this plays out.
Yeah, this is, I was kind of just thinking there that Hen Semenko was a little bit gone, but she has managed to pull that in. It says 4 seconds, but it looks a lot longer than 4 seconds to me. But yeah, she's, I do like Hen Semenko. Like I said, she commented on a ride of mine, so I've got a soft spot for her now. But she is just getting distanced here a little bit. I think Kim K is just, she's on the TBR Party Bus. She's having a party. This is obviously the kind of race that she was that she was looking for. She's on that Canyon bike, so not the quickest up the climbs. We'll just have a look what Van Rossum is on. She is on a Canyon as well. These are some interesting bike choices. Hen Semenko, there she is. She's on those DT Swiss ARCs. She's looking great. There's a great climbing setup. Terrible sock and glove choice, but the bike and the wheels were fantastic. As we are just waiting for these guys to come through to the finish of their climb, I do want to go off topic a little bit, Kate, and say I'm actually in the middle of writing an article for a triathlon magazine on the best kits in Zwift.
Indeed.
Yes, and
well,
I was.
If anybody should write that, that's you.
I was going to say that I'm going to break it up into the 5 best team kits and then the 5 best unlock kits. Now, the llama kit for your chicks who ride bikes, I think could make the best unlock kit. It is a good one, right?
Ooh,
Would
it
you
is a good
say?
one.
Yeah, I mean, it's llamas. It's kind of got nothing to do with cycling, which, makes it interesting.
I mean, I love our llama jersey, and I have to say, I went riding the other day. The folks at Champ Sis who made me the llama jersey made me a sloth jersey. Anna, it's the
Oh,
coolest thing I've ever seen.
oh wow. Is that
Um,
in game? That could be
it's
better than
not
the
in
llama.
game yet,
Oh,
but I loved it when I put it on. I was like, this is super cool, cooler than I would have thought, and
yeah.
I thought this will be amazing in game and probably very popular as well. But I do think that fun kits in game go a long way because you are staring at yourself. Normally, when you're on the bike, you whack your jersey on and you look at photos later if you take photos or people do. And if you're a bike rider and you're not taking selfies, then who are you anyway? But
Exactly.
it's true, you know it. But I think that in game it's a bit different because you're really looking at your avatar the whole time. And as we know from you, Anna, when there's something off about the avatar, it really grates at you. And from this angle, I'm starting to question KKS's choice of socks. Could we get a closer view there? Has she got socks on, Anna? Have we got to change
Yeah, there's no
our
socks there.
cleanliness for her?
There is no socks on Kim
Oh,
KS.
heavens.
So, although I like how, oh, wow, there's a pass been made right there while we're in the close up. But I do like the kind of shoes that match the bike, although the red gloves, not so much. I think if she, we haven't done a real fashion kind of look for a while, but yeah, that's the white and orange shoes, good with the red and orange bike, but the red gloves have thrown it off. Look at who has caught them up. Hence Semenko, right back on their tail.
I think that this is, KKS has been so strong pushing the pace, but she's very consistent with the way that she's been applying power and she's a bit of a diesel. What we've definitely seen from Van Rossum and Hansa Semenko in the past is that they are a little bit sharper and more dynamic. It's like dynamics, the word of the evening, the bingo word for tonight. I've been saying it a lot around talking about climbing, but they do tend to have bursts and then they recover. They're the ones that attack a little bit more or sprint a little bit more than KKS does. Uh, in saying that, though, they both tried to have a bit of a run over the top of her and to no avail. So when it does turn to a little bit of flat, and it's not for long, is it? It's literally a couple of 100 meters. That is where they're all going to have to absolutely rally and see if they have anything left. But it wouldn't surprise me, and this is why it's a bummer we can't see their avatar. But I feel like, Anna, they'll get out of their seat to have a bit of a sprint, and we might have a few jelly legs happening where they kind of flop back into the seat and try and grunt their way to the finish with a
Yeah.
little bit of power.
So,
Great description, isn't it?
yeah, just flopping around onto their seat. Oh, there's actually a rider relatively close behind. This is where it's so hard to tell on a climb. That is 30 seconds between Chico there from TBW and Land there from Raven Mad. It's only 30 seconds, but they're just around the corner. And I will show you, it's a horrible vision from their point of view when you look up because it's the other riders are just there. You can just see them rounding the corner and they look so close, but it was 30 seconds. I mean, you'd have to start a full-on sprint right now to be able to catch them up. Yeah, I mean, they're not going to get there, but this is what's so devastating. Look at this in here from Caramellos. She was doing very well in the first portions of this race. Looks like she could come in for a nice fourth place.
Yeah, Naomi Land has had a really strong ride. Anna Chico, Naomi Land, and Nikki K are the three riders that we're seeing here. Nikki K is the one at the moment. Naomi Land that is with Anna Chico. And they will end up having a bit of a sprint at the top, albeit the sprint at the top of a climb isn't quite the same as a sprint.
Yeah, this is interesting here though with Van Rossum. She was my pick I do like what she's doing here. She has pulled away from Kim K there. She's sitting in first place, coming over this last little kicker, goes up to that 9% grade, then it flattens off. Hence Semenko, she has dropped with that turn of pace down to 16 seconds, back 18 seconds. This is just a huge finish here from Van Rossum, from the herd of Wheelies. Great job. Already got 7 seconds on Kim KS. I thought she might have had it in her. I was kind of thinking Hens Semenko might have been bluffing a bit. She obviously wasn't. Van Rossum taking this out in what can only be described as a dominant victory. Timed her little effort to perfection up that last climb. Has moved away from Kim K. Haven't seen her drop a power up. So great job there from Van Rossum from the herd of Wheelies. Kim K coming up behind. Second place, can't sneeze at that. That is awesome. Great job from the TBR party bus. Not sure she'll be having a party now. I know a few of the guys are coming into chat saying their party has ended with a lot of vomiting. So hopefully the women aren't as well. But yeah, not such a good party time on this climb. Hens Semenko rolling through in third place. Looking great here. And Naomi. See a little battle here happening between Naomi and a Chico there from TBW. Naomi just pulling ahead. This will be a nice little battle to the line.
It was a great ride in the end from Gina Van Rossum. We knew that she would accelerate toward the end, but she ended up taking it by quite a margin. I think KKS was absolutely done. She had her time. Great little sprint coming in here. We've got Nikki coming in with Anna Chico. Is Chico?
Oh, Chico's going to take it right on the line.
Oh, that's sneaky from Chico.
That is brutal there. Right on the line, like you see it. I mean, after all that effort, that is really, really hard. Looking here at Ella, Land here from Raven Mad, followed by Allison from the Caramellas. This is looking through at the top 10. And then we have a nice little battle behind Allison, who's in 7th. For that 8th place between Kerry and Blake. Looks like we might see a little replay here of the Chico battle. Blake coming through from Raven Mad right over the top. She's in the old Raven Mad kit, so she's got to get that new one on because that new kit is fantastic. But unfortunately...
The new kit is very cool.
How good is it?
This has been a pretty solid effort up the climbs from these crew, because we kind of pontificated at the beginning, Anna, that maybe we would just see ones coming in on their own and it would not be super exciting or dynamic, but they would just ride away. But that absolutely wasn't what happened, especially in the women and also in that race for second in the men. Tim Cutler admittedly took it quite comfortably, but the women, there's been a few battles up this mountain, and I must say the Caramellos and the Chupa Chups have put in a great performance today.
That's fantastic. That's a top 10 woman already over the line. That is under an hour of racing. I think that's faster than it had been anticipated. You good for us to come on screen, Kate?
Yeah, I am. I do have my child on my lap, Anna, but this is a family segment, so
absolutely. Hello.
Anna, that was sensational riding. Massive. I really want to see where Mashed Potato ended up.
Trying to get the results. It's having a little bit of trouble with these refreshes, but I mean...
But both he and Richard Law did really well on the earlier slopes. And I've just noticed as well in the C that in the top 10 is Kerry Gigante, Mama Bear to Sarah Gigante. We're like a bit obsessed with the Gigante family.
I love them
at the moment. And with Worlds coming up, with Esport World Championships coming up, and of course Sarah was a silver medalist last year, so that will be on her radar again for this year. I don't know who you've got in your NZ team, Anna, but game on. For everybody, if you missed it last week, we are kind of rival director sportifs in the race cars for the day. I'm doing the Australian team and Anna's doing the New Zealand women's team. I feel like the competition is as much us against each other than what's actually happening on screen, Anna.
Yeah, it will be good. I do actually want to call out Sarah Gigante, because I saw her in an interview on GCN talking about her bike shoes, which was actually really interesting. I'm in the market for some new bike shoes. I was like, I'll go check out and see what's on YouTube. great little interview. So she went through all her bike shoes. It was really good to see her again. I remember racing with her a lot during all the lockdowns and esport, and she was so friendly and so lovely. She's always given me ride on. So yeah, I'm following her career very closely. I just think she's a great girl, and I'll be excited to see her at the Esport World Champs, which is less than 10 days away now. So
Oh, crazy.
yeah, this course will be a nice little appetizer to those racing the World Champs. I don't know if you've gone out and raced that course, but kind of like this one.
Not
It's
yet. I'm going to
yeah.
tomorrow night, Anna. So
Ooh.
I might be in a bit of the vomit box tomorrow night, like a couple of our athletes are
Yeah,
tonight.
set it to that 100% trainer difficulty like they've got to do on race day because wow, you use your gears.
Yeah. I'm very interested to see how my avatar maybe zigzags up and down those climbs in the end. We will get results when we can. Anna, you'll bring them up if we
Yeah, I
can.
think it looks
Otherwise,
it looks like they're not coming through. Sometimes we have this issue just when the Zwift updates happen, which that happened earlier today. Go out and ride those new Nyokyo courses. They're a lot of fun. But do head over to WTRL Racing. They have all the results, so you'll see those updated fairly quickly from
so
that race.
head over there and see that. Now we are the first of the kind of bookends of this week. It finishes tomorrow with America West, and I'll be doing that with Dave Toll. Anna, are you racing tomorrow?
I am. Yes, I've actually got, you would like this. I've set a in real life coffee bet with one of my teammates. So whichever of us gets up the climb the fastest has to actually buy beans and send them to the other. So I'm in New Zealand, she's in Canada, but a nice little sweetener to the deal. It'll hopefully get me up that climb pretty quick because, yeah, it's going to be 18 minutes of hell, I think.
Yeah, well, I feel like there might be some customs officers in New Zealand whose ears just pricked up and are now searching packages for organic goods.
Exactly.
But good luck with that tomorrow, everybody. Thank you for joining us. Do head over to WTRL. Lovely to meet Eleanor, everybody, first to the broadcast. We've had my other one, Maggie, on here before. And we will see you next week for week 7.